Welcome to 2 Cents We See Scary Movies, the podcast where we sink our teeth into horror films one bite at a time. This month's theme is terror in the deep, from the depths of the ocean to the darkness of space. If it's lurking where the light doesn't reach, we're talking about it. I'm Talon, the one who doesn't bother with forks, because why take polite little nibbles when you can scoop up a whole mouthful at once? Basically, I eat like a shark attacks. No chewing, no regrets. And with me is Dan, who honestly thinks a shark attack might be less stressful than dealing with certain people he sees 5 days a week. Bites off his leg? He'll take swimming in circles for the rest of his life over sitting through another endless meeting with some 9-to-5ers he knows. This week we're diving headfirst into Shark Night, a movie that proves you don't need a bigger boat, you just need better friends who won't feed you to the sharks for clicks. Let's get into it. All right, I felt like that description for you was fitting for this week.
Yes, it is. It's very fitting this week.
Hopefully none of them listen to the podcast. Are they talking about me?
I don't believe they do. Yeah, I don't believe so. And if they do, I'll be surprised.
Yeah. Who's that one? Garrett? No. Who's the one that you always make fun of? Griffin.
Griffin. He's no longer works with us. He went to a different program. He's dead to me.
Lucky him. All right. So let's get into this movie. The movie opens with a girl out in a lake. Right away, we get those ominous underwater shots like something's lurking beneath watching her. She's just kind of bobbing around by herself, not really swimming, not really panicking, just hanging out. Then suddenly she screams, but nope, false alarm. It's just her boyfriend popping up from underneath and putting her on his shoulders. They mess around a little. He snatches her bikini top and tosses it further out into the water. She tells him he's going to have to go get it, but he's like, nah, I'm getting lunch, and just leaves her there. Real gentleman.
Yeah, fantastic.
So he walks back up toward their camper, and the camera cuts back to her. She goes to retrieve her bikini top, and as she's putting it back on and heading back toward the beach, bam, she's grabbed from underneath and yanked down. And here's this, I don't know, weird, I think it's weird, but there's this weird shark physics that comes in. Now, I'm not a sharkeologist or anything like that, and I'm not sure what the real technical term is for that.
Sharkeologist.
But I don't know if sharks do this in real life, but it just thrashes her from side to side. And I see this in every shark movie. And it's left to right, left to right, left to right, like some old timey typewriter. Tap, 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 return, tap, 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 return. I guess it's just how sharks do it.
Right. I'm gonna look that up and see if I can find anything on that.
Okay, good. You do all the research. All right. So meanwhile, she's screaming, but apparently her boyfriend doesn't hear a thing. She makes a desperate swim toward a wooden raft out in the middle of the lake, kind of like the one in the Stephen King short, The Raft. Well, it is like the one, it's not kind of. But the shark gets her before she makes it. The water turns red.
Yep.
She disappears under the water, and that's it. And then those two, we pretty much never see them again. We kind of get a glimpse of her a little bit later, but they really aren't overly pertinent to the whole story. Next, we cut to a college campus inside a dorm room. There's a guy named Gordon who's glued to his video game. He's playing online with a couple other guys, while Nick, who's pre-med, is buried in his books trying to study. Gordon keeps nagging at him to play, but Nick's like, nope, I can't. I've got this whole 7-year graduation plan to stick to. Of course, Gordon just logs him in anyway, basically forcing him to join or he'll lose his points or something.
So let me mention that the actor who plays Gordon, whenever I see him, I always know that the movie is going to be complete cheeseball. Now, I like him. I do like him as an actor, and he always plays a good role, but you always know the movie itself is going to be cheesy as hell.
Was Avatar cheesy?
I hated Avatar.
Yeah, I didn't. I watched it once, and that was it. I never watched another sequel or anything. I don't know what the big deal is, but I don't know if it's cheesy, but yeah, I love him. He's one of my favorites.
It was, Avatar to me was basically elongated Smurfs.
Right. Yeah. I always just wondered if they, if the whole world they lived in was in a toilet bowl of some old lady who always used the blue toilet bowl cleaning thing. The thing you... Wouldn't that be kind of funny if they just lived in her toilet and we all thought it was some major world, but it was really, because it was that tidy bowl, that stuff you put in the back of the toilet. Anyway.
Yes.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Kind of like, what were those things? They're like little shrimps, but they're always in the kids magazines. Like, yes. I forget what they were called.
Oh, they were sea monkeys.
There we go. Sea monkeys.
Yeah. Which were just little brine shrimp. Yeah. And they never worked. Yeah. I had some.
No.
So right then, this guy barges in. His name is Malik, and he comes in hot, yelling at Nick about his grade. He's all up in Nick's face saying, "Man, I need at least a C to keep my scholarship. The athletic department told me you were the best tutor on campus." He's ranting about how if he doesn't pass, he's going to back to the 401 or something. And because he'll lose a scholarship if he doesn't get at least a C. And so, of course, Nick is standing
Right.
there terrified and like, oh, fuck, And then he's like getting closer to him and he's like really pissed off. And then he pulls out his paper, real dramatic. And suddenly he's like, "I got a B." So it was a total fake out. He hugs Nick, laughing, and the whole room cracks up because it's hilarious.
And Nick
Turns
practically shits his pants.
right. So turns out Malik has a plan. He wants everyone to head out to Lake Crosby for the weekend to celebrate, I guess. Nick tries to bail because he's got schoolwork, of course, but Malik convinces him the second he mentions, "We're going to Sarah Palski's house." And Nick's like, "Wait, Sarah Palski? That was all it took."
Sarah Palski.
Yeah.
All the boys go there.
All the boys. So then we cut to Sarah mid-workout just to drive home the point, I guess, who she is. That's all we see of her right then and there is
Right.
a quick glimpse of her working out. Then we meet a couple more characters. There's Maya. She's Malik's girlfriend, and she calls up another girl who, at this time, they don't really give her a name, but she's clearly styled as the bad girl of the group. And she's in the midst of getting a tattoo on her ass, although they make it seem like she's getting ready to get fucked up the ass. Then they're
Yes,
talking.
yes, they do.
Yeah. So they're talking about, the weekend. And then there's this random guy who's a nude art model, and they show him doing his nude art modeling. And he doesn't have a name at this point either, but he's just naked and striking the pose. So then we cut back to Nick, Malik, and Gordon. Malik pulls out an engagement ring. He's planning to propose to Maya during their little lake getaway. Gordon just stares at him like, "Dude, you're one of the top 10 draft picks in the country. Why are you chaining yourself down to one girl this early?" But Malik doesn't hesitate. He's like, "Maya was with me when I was poor, so she deserves to be with me when I'm ballin'." So yeah, makes sense.
Loser.
She's the ride or die chick, I guess. Then the nude art model rolls in, literally on his skateboard, up to the group, and we finally get his name. It's Blake, and they're outside at the school. So not long after that, Maya and the so-called bad girl pull up in a big SUV. The guys pile in with them, and I've got to say, this movie actually does it right. Unlike Beaver Lake, where for some reason the girls drove in one car and the guys in another, they all started in the same place. They all left together in the same vehicle. Makes sense, right?
Yes, yes, it does. I was going to say, you could almost say that they didn't have enough room in each vehicle in Fever Lake, but that would be a complete lie.
Right. They could have probably all gotten into the little SUV the boys were in.
Yes.
So finally, Sarah shows up with her dog. The dog hops in the back with Gordon and Nick. Sarah climbs into the front somewhere, and off they go. And then cue the obligatory road trip montage with upbeat music, because what's a horror movie getaway without a quick, happy montage before things get messy?
Yeah, of course.
So the crew finally makes it to the little town they're headed to, and first stop is the bait shop. I half expected them to go in for bait and end up with dream analysis.
Well, I mean, that's why you go to the bait shop.
Yes, apparently that's what bait shops are for in these kind of movies. So inside, we do get a little clarification. The bad girl's name is Beth, and just so everyone's caught up, the blonde is Sarah. She's the one that, she's the one whose house we're going to. It took me a minute. Anyway, Beth immediately announces she has to pee because apparently that was essential information for the group.
Well, always. You always have to let the group know when you got to go pee.
Right. Before heading off to the bathroom with Beth, Sarah casually drops that once they get out to the lake house, the cell phones don't work. So if anyone needs to make any calls, they need to do it now. Good old foreshadowing 101.
Right. Or forever hold your peace.
Right. Meanwhile, Beth and Sarah are in the bathroom chatting. Beth is eyeing Nick and basically says she's ready to help him lose his innocence this weekend. Real subtle.
Ooh, what does that mean?
I don't know. They'll probably tell us later, or we'll see. We'll see later. Back in the store, Nick, Gordon, and Blake are stocking up on food and alcohol. Actually, I think it was more just alcohol. I don't think I really saw any food. Gordon, in his usual classy way, tells Nick he needs to get Sarah drunk so he can, and I quote, tickle her privates.
That's not rapey.
So Nick, thankfully, isn't having it. He's like, yeah, that's not really my weekend plan. So props to Nick. Outside, Malik and Maya are hanging out when a beat up truck pulls in. Out of the passenger side comes this redneck with razor sharp teeth and a cigarette dangling from his mouth. Then back in the store's clerk is watching everything going on in the bathroom on the CCTV.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
Yeah, super classy establishment there. So then we go back outside. The redneck makes a racial comment toward Malik and Maya. Malik is black and Maya is Hispanic. He says something about how nice it is that Malik let the help sit up front. And when Malik calls him out, he throws in a no habla inglés and suggests he can teach her in the back of his truck English. So, of course, Malik's not letting that slide. He shoves the guy up against the truck. Then another man shows up who was driving the truck. He walks around. He's a little redneck, a little less redneck looking. He's like all buff and whatever, but he calls Malik boy, which
Yeah.
of course sets Malik off even more. The guy takes off his sunglasses and we see this huge scar wrapped around his eye. He leans in, as cool as he can be, and says, "Try not to mess up my face." Then, just as things are about to explode, Sarah steps in. She recognizes him. She says, "Dennis?" And suddenly the tension shifts. Dennis goes from menacing to polite in about 2 seconds flat. He calls the whole thing a misunderstanding and blames it on his buddy Red, saying that he had too much to drink.
Goddamn red.
Right. Clearly, there's history here. Dennis and Sarah catch up briefly. He asks how college is going. She says she's got like a year left. And he asks if she's majoring in English. And then he's like, "Oh, no, wait a minute, psychology." And then Sarah brushes it off and says that she's got to go and telling him that it was nice to see him. Dennis smiles, says, "Take care," and walks away. Then the whole gang heads over to the dock where there's a guy there already who has Sarah's boat prepared for them. I guess it must be a family boat that they just leave there. I don't know. They pile in. It's
Yeah,
a nice,
I kind of caught that too.
yeah. They pile in. It's a nice big old speedboat. The guy waves them off with a, have a good time on the island, and they're gone. So we get boat on the water montage with upbeat music playing. Everyone's drinking, laughing, having a great time. Then out of nowhere, a smaller boat cuts in behind them, has a siren on, looks like might be like lake patrol or something. Not really sure what it is at this point. Lights are flashing, sirens blaring. Sarah decides to speed up and go as fast as she can. And now everyone's freaking out. They're all yelling, "Sarah, stop, just stop, just stop." But she just keeps going until she finally pulls up to her dock. Well, the patrol boat pulls in next to her, and Nick gets out and ties up their boat. And then the other guy, who turns out to be the sheriff, he actually throws a bumper over, but he never actually ties up his own boat.
No, no.
Yeah. He looks at Sarah and goes, "Well, well, well, you should consider yourself undefeated." They both laugh like it's an old inside joke. They trade some banter and he casually asks for a beer. He downs it and says he'll be back tomorrow since he promised Sarah's mom he'd drop off her mail. Then he adds, "Nice to see you back, Sarah. It's been a long 3 years." So then you cue another fast paced montage. And when I say fast paced, they do speed it up. Like it's all sped up.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's hauling their bags inside. Maya and Beth are changing into their bathing suit tops. People are exploring the house. The whole gang eventually ends up outside by the pool. Blake finds the jet ski and looks like he's just found religion. He's super excited about it. Then we cut to Nick and Malik in the boat. Nick asks what Sarah's story is, and Malik admits he doesn't really know, says he's never seen her date anyone, never seen her hook up at parties, nothing. In the 3 years he's known her, all she's ever done is hang out with her dog, Sherman. So, sure enough, there we see Sarah standing by the water with Sherman. She tosses a stick into the lake. I don't know what kind of arm this girl's got on her. She should probably be playing football or something because she tosses it into the lake. And then you see the dog go after it. And of course, we get these ominous underwater shots, and the music is telling us
Yes.
something's down there watching. And for a second, the dog's gone. Like, I'm like, how far did she throw this fucking stick? Because you couldn't see the dog anymore. So, but then you're also worried
Yeah, I
that,
almost turned it off thinking that
yeah,
the dog got hurt.
right. I was like, oh, great. They're going to take out the dog first. I was like, wonderful.
Right.
So Sarah's staring out the water. There's no dog in sight. There's still that kind of ominous music. But then finally, Sherman pops back up, stick in his mouth. All's well. Meanwhile, Beth and Gordon are playing beer pong on this really cool inflatable table. Like it's a beer pong table that blows up. It's really kind of cool. And they're in the pool.
Yeah.
So Gordon's trying hard to work his charm.
And I
Go ahead.
need to add that, Beth had just gotten a tattoo.
Right.
They tell
Yeah.
you not to submerge the tattoo underwater for any length of time because it'll get ruined. But she just did it. She just does it.
Yeah. She's a rule breaker.
She is.
Yeah. She's a bad girl rule breaker. So Gordon's trying hard to work his charm, but she's not really biting. Then Blake comes starting out with a spray tan bottle, spritzing himself down. to really sell it, he sprays right into his swim trunks to make sure his junk is tan.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah, that's not really how spray tans work because you don't just like spray it on like that. And you don't want
Right,
it to touch your clothes and have stuff touching it because then you'll be all like weird. So I don't know what that
right.
was.
And I can only imagine that it's just like all like gunked up.
Right?
It's not like evenly sprayed down there. It's like all gunked up and,
Yes.
you know, I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. So back on the boat, we've got Nick, Blake, and Maya in the boat. And then Malik is ski boarding, or I guess that's what you call it, ski boarding. And Nick is driving, and Blake and Maya are watching from the back. And Malik's out there, and this dude's got some serious moves flips, jumps. He's carving over the wake like a pro. Then they whip the boat around, and right as he swings a wide on the turn, there it is. You see a fin cutting through the water.
Oh no.
Oh, no. You see the fin cutting through the water, and I'm just like, "What the heck? Really? Again? The black guy's gonna go first? Come on now."
I know, that's exactly what I thought too. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like let the black people live for a while. Like they can be the final person sometimes.
So, Malik's still out. This is like the final frontier for black people. It's like the last thing that they've actually gotten. I don't know if it's the last thing, but it's like this is the one place where they just have not had the option of being well, I don't know how to say it.
Well, the only show that I've ever seen
Right.
where the original survivors were pretty much all the black people was Z Nation.
Right, yeah. Yeah, 'cause
The
we talked
first
about this
episode,
before.
like the first episode, like there's a group of people and all the white people die first.
Right.
I'm like, it's about fucking time.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm white, but I mean, goddamn, like, whenever I watch a movie, like the white guys are always the ones that are surviving, but yet they're the ones who are like, oh, let's stay.
Yeah.
And the black people are like, nah, man, let's go.
Let's get the fuck out of here. So Malik's, even though, Malik doesn't know yet there's a shark there in the water. Nobody does. So Malik's, still out there showing off, but every so often we get that ominous underwater shot. And with each one, the shark's getting closer and closer. And then something bumps his board. He can feel it. He looks back and he's like, what the hell? And then there's another bump and he's a little rattled now and he starts shouting for them to speed up. And of course, Maya and Blake, they're watching from the boat and have no clue what's going on. They're just like, yeah, go faster. Woo, he's killing it. So they're totally oblivious to what's going on. Then there's another hit to his board, and then Malik goes down. So Maya and Blake are like, oh shit, he fell. But they're kind of laughing about it because they're like, oh, he fell, whatever. Nick eases back on the throttle and Blake's yelling, slow down, slow down. He's in the water. And he starts pulling in Malik's tow rope as they circle back, scanning the lake. And they're shouting, Malik, come on, man, stop playing around. Malik, where are you? Because they don't see him and he's not anywhere in there where he should be. So then panic starts to creep in a little. Then Maya finally spots him. Oh, there he is. And sure enough, Malik's swimming really hard straight toward the shore by the house.
Yep, and he seemingly looks fine.
Yeah, he's swimming pretty good.
From this angle.
Right, yeah. So then we cut to the shore where Sarah's stretched out sunbathing. She hears Malik groaning and dragging himself out of the water. And at first, when the camera's on him, it's only showing his face. And he's calling out for Sarah.
Yep.
Then it pulls back and you see it. His entire right arm is gone. So then, of course, Sarah, we see her face and she's in pure shock, like, oh my God. She immediately screams for Beth and Gordon to help. The others jump off the boat and run down to the dock. Somebody yells to Gordon to call 911, but Sarah cuts in, you're not going to get anything out of here. There's no signal. And sure enough, there was no signal. Nick asks if she has a first aid kit, so Sarah runs in the house to grab that, while Blake and Maya turn on Nick, furious. They're convinced he ran over Malik's arm with the boat. Meanwhile, Nick pulls out bandages because she comes back with the kit. He pulls out bandages, gets Gordon to go find a big stick and rigs up a tourniquet. He puts Blake on pressure duty and tells Maya to keep Malik's head up. Then Nick asks Gordon for his phone, not to call anybody, but because he needs to know the time. And then he suddenly takes off, diving into the lake.
I don't know why I find that funny. Yeah, I need the phone so I can see what time it is.
Yes,
I don't see why that matters at this time, but I mean, you're supposed to be patching up your friend's arm, not checking the time. It doesn't matter what time it is. Just fucking patch him up.
He needed to know the time because he's going to get the arm. because he needs to know
Uh,
how much time he has before the arm's no longer viable to be reconnected. So,
that would make sense. I forgot that he's the medical guy.
yeah, yeah. So he takes off, dives into the lake because he's going after Malik's arm, hoping he can recover it fast enough. Maybe doctors can reattach it. So Nick's underwater searching, and Sarah runs out on the dock as well, anxiously watching. Incredibly, he does find the arm, but he also finds the shark, and the shark finds him. Sarah spots it too, and she's screaming, "Nick, hurry, hurry!" So he's swimming back to the dock, and the shark's closing in. He scrambles up just in time, barely escaping. But the funny part is he doesn't have his arm. Did you notice that the arm wasn't in his hand?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if he chucked the arm like real far, so hoping it would get to shore or on the dock, but he gets up there without the arm.
It's very possible. I mean, if Sarah had a good arm with that stick,
That's
you
true.
know,
But I think that if he
so
had
maybe
tossed it,
Nick just,
the dog would have taken off with the arm.
oh, that's true.
But somehow later,
That's true.
the arm does magically reappear, but we just don't know how.
Right.
So once everybody's kind of caught their breath, they break the news. There's a shark in the lake. So now they're all like, "What? A shark? It's a lake." And Gordon, very matter of fact, says it's a saltwater lake. And then one other one says, "What does that even mean?" And Gordon's like, "Well, it's not impossible." So that sucks. And at this point, when I was watching the movie, I was like, okay, so everyone knows there's a shark in the lake. So how in the world does anyone else die from the shark? Because you would think if you know there's a shark in the lake, you're not going to go back in the lake, right?
This is true.
Yeah. So I was like, okay,
But
how the hell is anybody gonna die?
as we said, everybody else but Malik is white. And so they're the ones that stick around. They're the ones that, stay in the haunted house that's killing everybody. It's
Right.
going to be
Yeah.
fine.
True. True.
So
Good point.
why not work it the same way? It's a shark of lakes. I mean, a lake of sharks, and the white people want to stay swimming in it.
Right. So Sarah asks Nick if there's any chance to save the arm. Nick says they've got about 2 hours if they can find an orthopedic surgeon in the middle of the bayou. Problem is, the nearest hospital is also 2 hours away. So things aren't looking too good for the arm. They decide that they're going to try and take Malik and his arm in a cooler back to the marina where they were with the bait shop and all that, and try to get him somewhere as fast as they can. And everybody's piling into the boat. Nick's, like, "Oh, we need people to get off because we need the boat to move as fast as possible." So it's like everybody needs to get off the boat. I don't know how much he thought everybody weighed, but I'm sure it wasn't enough to weigh down this boat, but whatever.
Right.
Of course, Maya, who is the girlfriend, refuses to leave, which is understandable. But the guys get off and they push the boat off. So Maya is sitting in the very back of the boat with Malik, and Nick is up front with Sarah, who's driving the boat. And Malik's blood, of course, is dripping off the back end of the boat, which is just chumming the water, basically. Then, of course, as they're going along, we see some views from underwater, those, scary, ominous views of somebody in the water.
And I must say that all the views under the water really looked like to me that they were stock footage from like the 70s.
Yeah, it was a very murky green and weird. Yeah, it didn't have like a very, I don't know, it did have a weird look to it.
It was shot weird, because like I said,
Yeah.
it looked more like stock footage than it was like original footage.
Yeah, like they did it themselves there.
But I
So
think you did make a good point. I think they were trying to make it look murkier than what it was, but it didn't really come across very well.
right. So we get these underwater views, and then the shark, which I guess the shark's just really fast, and the shark comes up and bumps the boat. And Maya notices, and she says, "Nick," and then it bumps it again. And Maya, because when she yelled Nick because of the first bump, she stood up, like, okay, and then it bumps it again. And then Maya gets knocked off the boat. So she's yelling, "Help, help, help." So Nick runs to the back of the boat. He grabs one of the, round lifesaver rafty things, and he throws it out to her. Now, this part is ridiculous. Like the whole thing, because Nick throws this out to her and she grabs onto it, and he, yells to Sarah to go and to go real fast, which is going to be incredibly painful. Because if anyone, I don't know if you've ever done anything like this before, but I've done it a bunch because we lived near a lake for a long time. And even on a regular raft that is a big, inflatable raft that has a bottom you can sit on, when you're going really fast, that water is like pins, like pew, 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 pew,
Oh
pew,
yeah, it hurts.
real hard and fast. And then she's also hitting wakes and jumping up in the air and slamming back down, and she's just holding on. It's like her arms are the only thing that are on it. The rest of her and her head's just at the edge. The rest of her body's just out in the water. And then, like, that in itself sucks, but we're also supposed to believe that Nick is able to just hold on to this rope with his bare hands
Yeah.
because that's what he was doing. He
Yeah,
was just
there's no
holding
way
on to
that's
it.
gonna happen.
No, not at all. So she's bouncing all around, slamming up and down. There's no way this could happen in real life. And I also thought it was funny that we sometimes get these underwater visuals of her legs, and she's kicking her legs back and forth like she's swimming. And I'm like, first of all, there's no way. There's no way she's going to do that at that speed. But it's hilarious because it's like, does she think that's going to help her go faster? The speedboat that's pulling you?
Right. And
So,
and this shark, is moving very fast and keeping up.
yeah. Like, that shark should have, as fast as that boat was going initially, and the shark caught up and hit the boat, it should have been there already. Like, it should have just been there. It should have been behind her. But ultimately, it does catch up and it gets Maya. Then, holy smokes, I can't believe it. For whatever reason, the steering's gone and the throttle's jammed and they're headed straight for the dock. And at first I thought, I thought, oh, whose dock is this? But it's her own dock. I'm like, what is she doing back at her own dock?
Yeah.
Like, did they just turn? Like, I missed when they turned around. They're heading for her dock,
Yeah.
which has a regular old timey gas pump, but for boats. And that's on the
Right.
dock. So, of course, they're headed for this dock at full speed because they can't do anything about it because everything's suddenly broken. And Nick is like, okay, we're going to have to jump ship. You grab the cooler. I'll grab Malik, which good luck because he's basically dead weight. And I don't know how he's planning
Right.
on swimming back to shore with him and beating this super fast shark.
And without
So
him losing more blood.
right. So they jump off, and just about as soon as they do, the boat hits the dock and everything blows up and explodes. Everyone who's on the beach waiting for them back at the house, they're like, "Oh my God." And they're screaming and yelling. The next scene, you see them carrying Malik back into the house and they put him on a bed. Beth is losing her shit. She and Maya obviously were really good friends. She's like, "Oh my God, Maya's dead. Maya's dead." She's completely breaking down. Gordon decides to run out to a shed or someplace outside and finds a flare, which he sets off. The flare goes off. And then we cut to the sheriff sitting in his truck facing the lake, but he's rocking out to some music, not paying any attention to anything, much less the flare. So he doesn't see it. So then Sarah goes back into the bedroom where Nick is, who's still with Malik and, just looking after him. And when she walks in, she's still wearing her bikini, but now she's thrown a little light cardigan over it. And I thought, well, that's weird because everyone else has changed into regular clothes. But she has apparently decided that in all this chaos, she's going to keep rocking her bikini. It's like,
I was gonna say, you gotta be sexy.
you gotta
If
be.
you got it, flaunt it.
Right. So while they're in there, they have some little conversation, but there's a gunshot outside. So that everybody rushes outside and they see Blake shooting into the air, trying to get the attention of a boat he spotted on the lake. So he runs down the dock, the boat pulls up, and Blake, Gordon, and Nick all run out to meet it. Of course, it ends up being the two guys from the bait shop, Dennis and Red. Red immediately starts being his obnoxious self. And when Nick says, "We need your help, something bad's happened," he actually jokes about it and says, "Oh, did someone get hurt playing spin the bottle?" Actually, I think Dennis said that. Yeah. Then Red takes it further and says he hopes it wasn't his little mamacita before making some gross comment about cleaning up the boat or whatever. Like he needed some her to clean up the boat.
Right.
So then that's when they break the news to them that she's dead. And they explain about the sharks and everything. They don't really get into it, that you just know that they're obviously explaining to them about the sharks and stuff. So the next scene cuts back to the house and Red comes out of the bedroom where Malik is laid up. He says, "Damn, your boy got jacked." And he insists they need to get Malik to the ER in Monchak. But Dennis argues that they should take him to St. Francis because Monchak is a dump. Nick says no, they can't move him. He's lost too much blood. They need to stabilize him and wait for help to come, which they're going to operate right there at the lake house. I don't know.
Right.
So, sure, it's very sanitary.
Apparently, it's better than that hospital that they were talking about.
Must be. I'd never want to go to Manchac Hospital. So Dennis suggests heading to the marina to call for a medevac. He thinks one could be there within the hour. And then he asks who's coming, and Beth jumps at the chance. She's been anxious to leave from basically the time this all started, and she's not sticking around any longer. Blake tries to stop her, but she insists. So then Gordon offers to go with her and Nick is worried, especially after what happened to their own boat. He's like, "You saw what happened to Gordon." He's like, "You saw what happened to our boat. They ended up fucking our shit up." But Gordon's like, "I can't let her
Right.
go on there by herself with these guys. These guys are weird."
Which is understandable.
Exactly. Red reassures them that they don't have to worry about any sharks coming near their boat because they've got this device and it's a speaker that sends out a signal that keeps anything in the water 100 yards away. Plus, they got some kind of electric prod looking weapon that shoots out I don't know what shot out an explosive, it looked like. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
So then we go back inside, and Blake is sitting with Malik, who's weak but still holding on to the ring that he was planning to give Maya. He tells Blake, "If I don't make it, I just need to know, would she still marry half a man?" Blake tries to keep him calm, saying they just need to focus on getting him better. Then Malik asks where Maya is. Blake can't really bring himself to say it at first, but eventually Malik realizes because Blake's not answering, so Malik obviously realizes
Right.
something's wrong. Then Blake's like, "I'm sorry, man." He realizes she's gone. Then he's all screaming and devastated. His face says it all, basically. We cut to Nick and Sarah, and they're sitting outside. Nick's having this moment of survivor's guilt. He can't stop seeing Maya's face, and he says he shouldn't have let her on the boat. Sarah tells him that he never would have been able to stop her, and she pushes him not to keep going down that road because he's not going to win. So then
Right.
Nick asks her why she hasn't been back in 3 years, and she finally explains. So this story, I literally have in my notes. I was like, I need to make sure I ask Dan if he understands this story. So, because it doesn't make any sense, this story. It's like the writers were like, "I don't know what else to say. Let's just do this." It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. We'll figure it out later.
Maybe no one will notice. So she explains that she and Dennis dated for a couple of years. He was a diving instructor there, but when she was ready to go off to college, she realized that he was never going to leave the water. So she broke it off. A few days before she was supposed to leave, he took her to their favorite diving spot to say goodbye. And here's where the story gets really weird. So she says they were only underwater for a couple of minutes when all of a sudden she couldn't breathe. She gave him the signal, which is she puts her hand like at her neck and like she's cutting, like cutting it off. She says she gave him the signal that she had no air. She figured that maybe her air gauge was broken. When she first told him she had no air, he just stared at her. And so then when she reached out to share his air, he just drifted away. And I don't even know what that means. Was he unconscious? Are we supposed to think? At first I thought, well, maybe he did something to her tank to make her drown. Like he was trying to kill her, which
Yeah. Like if you're gonna leave, then you
really
know
leave.
no one can have you. Right.
Right. So, which would I could get that story. I could understand that, but they never address it like it's that. But basically, he just
No.
floated away like he was
Right.
dead. It was so weird. It didn't make any sense. So
I
then,
mean, maybe he was pretending he was dead to throw the sharks off.
well, there were no sharks at this time. So, or maybe he was pretending that he was dead and he was out of air. So she thought, oh, they're both out of air. So it's not suspicious. I don't know. I don't know. It didn't make any sense.
Like a Romeo and Juliet thing.
Right. So she says she somehow made it to the surface. I don't know why that's somehow, because all she had to do was swim up. And nothing was keeping her down
Right.
there. She climbed onto their skiff and was
But
about
I was gonna say the man.
the
The man
man.
kept her down.
Oh, kept down by the man. So uh, she climbed onto their skiff and was about to just leave him there, which I was like, what? You're just going to leave him floating in the water?
Right.
But then she spins the boat around and accidentally cuts his face open with the propeller. So then after that, she's like, "Oh, now I've got to get him." So she gets him and then takes him to the
Right.
hospital. Takes him to the hospital, then never goes back. That's the last she saw of him. And that's it. I don't get the story at all. She was so concerned about him. She was no, she
Yeah.
wasn't concerned at all about him floating away to take him to the hospital. But when she slices his face open, then she has to take him to the hospital. Like either way, he seemed dead.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Right.
This story made no sense at all.
So you can almost understand his motive a little bit later on, because she left him for dead like twice.
Right. Well, she left him for dead once. She did take, but I don't understand. Like, why would you not think to grab him when he was just floating away? Like, it
Right.
just, it didn't make any sense. This story was like, again, the writers must have been like, I don't really know what to do to make this heartbreaking and crazy. Like, look, we're just going to leave it up to their imagination. Like, okay, I don't have an
You
imagination in
know,
this
th-
scenario.
they were probably just stoned.
Yeah.
Dude, this is gonna be awesome.
So, and here's my note where I said, I really need to know if Dan gets this story because I don't. So,
Yeah, no, it was very lackluster.
yeah, it was weird. So she wraps it up by saying that Beth was right. She never should have brought everyone there because earlier on, when Beth was losing her shit, she was like, "It's your fault. You made us come here." Like, yeah, she made you come to a party house and on an island, whatever.
Right.
Now, Sarah, of course, is thinking she's right. Nick reassures her, saying it's not your fault and that everybody's going to be okay. Well, at least the ones who are left will be okay, I guess. Sarah just says she
Right.
wishes she could believe that and walks back to the house. And wasn't she just telling Nick to not go through this whole guilt trip and now she's doing it too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do sort of shit.
Right, exactly. So then we go back to the boat, and there's the classic "my eyes are up here" moment because Red is straight up staring at Beth's chest. She calls him out on it, and he's
Oh,
like,
yeah,
"I
and there was
know."
no subtlety on it.
No, not at all. So she calls him out, and he's like, "I know where your eyes are, darling." Then he actually takes a spotlight and shines it directly on her breasts and goes, "How big?" And she's like, "Excuse me?" And then he swings the light over to Gordon and asks, "How big?" Gordon's immediately disgusted, but then Red clarifies he meant the shark that got your friend. How big was it? Although
Right.
you know he meant it the way he was saying it, just by being he was just being obnoxious
Oh,
about it.
yes.
Yeah.
Right, it was definitely a double entendre.
Right, exactly. So Red explains it must be a bull shark because bull sharks can show up pretty much anywhere. He says they end up in the damnedest places. Gordon pushes back like, but this is a lake. How would a shark get in here? And Red's explanation is that there was a big hurricane season, so maybe one flooded up over the interstate and just wound up in there. Which I'm guessing could because bull sharks are known for going up rivers and shit. So
Yeah, I had to check that out, because I started losing it, like, sharks are in the lake,
yeah.
and, like, I didn't think that happened, but I sure enough,
Yep.
it can happen, and some sharks can actually adjust to lake water.
Yeah, the bull sharks are notorious. Way back in the day, there was a big to do in Jersey with a bunch of bull sharks going up into the rivers, and it was actually kind of, I think, I could be just pulling shit right out of my ass, my untattooed ass. That it was that it was part of the, inspiration for Jaws to some extent, just the New Jersey town and all
Okay.
this other shit that they were going up in the rivers, but even though that
Right.
shark wasn't a bull shark and I don't know. So then we cut to Malik, who's out on the beach with a fire blazing there's a big bonfire on the beach, and he's wearing a sweatshirt and shorts, which I thought, "Why you have a sweatshirt on, dude? I mean, you're gonna get so dragged down in this water." But I guess it's probably
Right.
the easiest way to cover up that his real arm is still actually attached to his body, and because, in the movie, his arm is gone, but in his real life, I hope he still has an arm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some actors really get into their
Yeah.
role.
It could be totally method.
I wanna commit to this part. Remove my arm.
Really jagged way, like, make it so that it really sucks to get it back on. I really wanna feel it for this stupid movie. So and he's
Don't
also
even
got
sew it up, just throw me in the water.
So he's out there and he's holding a spear, like, I guess he's going full Aquaman, and then Nick asks, "What
Yeah,
are
and
you?"
I had some trouble with that one, because why did they give the black guy the
Yeah,
spear?
I know, I thought the same thing too. I
You
was like,
know?
"Hmm, interesting choice of, prop."
Right.
Oh, I do wanna say, 'cause I was gonna say it earlier, but the black guy was not the first one to go. He was close, but not the first one to go. So, of course, they substituted
Right.
with the Hispanic girl.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it can't be the white guy first.
No.
That just wouldn't make sense.
Nope. Nick asks what he's doing, and Malik says he's going to take if it took one of theirs, he's gonna take one of theirs or something like that. So, since he took one of his,
Yeah, it
he's gonna
did
take one
make
of
sense.
theirs. Yeah. So, basically, he's planning to lure the
See
shark in and kill it.
see, with him, with that line, we can attribute that to a significant loss of blood.
Right, yeah.
So, it may have sounded stupid, but,
Right.
he has the right to sound that way since he's only got one arm and
Yeah,
the other
yeah,
one's
yeah.
bleeding profusely.
Well, he's blaming it on Baltimore, the 401, I guess. Because in the streets of Baltimore, if you take one of ours, we take one of yours kind of thing. That's
Right. Right.
he's gonna do, he's doing some street fighting with the, shark here, I guess.
I
Okay.
suppose that works well if you have street sharks.
Yeah. So, so he starts heading into the water like a man on a mission. He's ready. He's beating his chest and yelling, "Come here, come here." I guess sharks hear human voices and know what they mean. So back on the boat, Dennis suddenly cuts off the engine. Gordon's like, what are you doing? What's wrong with the boat? What's wrong with the engine?" Dennis calmly says nothing's wrong with it. Gordon keeps pushing, saying they need to get to the medevac, or they need to get the medevac out to the house to save Malik. But Red just pulls out the little humming box thing that he had in the water to keep everything away. And he sets it down and he looks at Dennis and
Yep.
says, "We've got 5 minutes." That's like 5 minutes till what? And Red goes, 5 minutes till the action starts. Okay. Meanwhile, back with Malik, he's walking further into the water, chumming it with his bloody nub, literally using it as bait while shouting, "Come on." And then we get the underwater shots, and suddenly it's a hammerhead shark. And I was like, what? Wait, I don't think it was a
Yeah,
hammerhead,
like
was
how
it?
did that happen?
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, that wasn't a hammerhead that got them the first time. And because I was like, there's no way this is the same shark. And, or there's just like,
Yeah,
they,
it got confusing because they didn't really explain that part at all.
yeah, not at the
It's
beginning.
just like
No,
all of
not
a
at this
sudden
point.
there's a hammerhead.
Yeah. And I was
Right.
like, prop guy really fucked up. Like, what the fuck? You got the wrong shark, dude. I was like,
That would be a real
yeah.
bad fuck up too.
Yeah, there's a little continuity error here. Oh, we'll just leave it. Whatever. No one's gonna notice. So, and then also, hammerheads don't exactly have the biggest fights. Like, I don't know how well. Again, not a sharkyologist, but I just don't feel like they have a big enough mouth.
Well,
Plus, they have that hammer thing in the front that's really awkward when you're trying to get in there and bite somebody. I just don't think it'd be a big old.
and not only that, but hammerhead sharks don't really attack humans. It's rare that they do,
Yeah, it's probably because they know they would have a hard
so
time.
it doesn't happen. Right.
Yeah, they're not dumb. They're not gonna waste their time.
Right. There's a lot of energy to be had and they need to save it, and so they're not going to
Right.
go after the hard stuff.
No. So anyway, it was weird, but it worked because even though it did go, full on underwater brawl and attack Malik and they were fighting, like he was punching it and all this stuff. It did probably make it easier to fight the shark because he didn't really have to worry too much about getting majorly bitten. It's not like it's a big old great white or something or a bull shark.
Right.
So
Right.
they're fighting away. Nick runs in to help, tag team style, I guess. And then finally, Malik actually does end up spearing it and killing it. Back on the boat, Red sets up a laptop and Gordon cracks a joke like, if you want to stay connected, I'm Gordon 79 or something like that. Then Dennis steps in and points at him, "Stand up. I need your help." I was surprised it was 79. Just saying. Dennis looks at Gordon and says, "Stand up. I need your help." And Gordon's like, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" And Dennis just says flat out, "I want you to get in the water." Of course, Gordon refuses. "I'm not getting in the water. Are you crazy?" So Dennis pulls out a gun. Beth jumps up, but Red grabs her and holds her back. Gordon tries to protest. "I can't get in the water. There's a." And Dennis finishes it for him and says, "A shark? Yeah, I know." And then Red casually drops the bomb. "Who do you think put them in there?" And that's when it all comes together. These guys have been stockpiling the lake
Oh
with
boy.
sharks on purpose. So then Gordon begs one last
How
time, Dennis.
dastardly.
I know, it's crazy. Why are they doing this? So Gordon begs one last time, "Dennis, please don't make me." But Dennis shoots him, I think like in the shoulder. And Gordon tumbles off the boat. He starts swimming. And he looks like he's swimming against the current. That's how it looked. And of course, he's doing it with one arm.
Yeah.
And then we see it, the fin cutting through the water and the underwater shots that the shark is turning straight towards him. So, of course, Gordon's like, "Oh shit." And he's pushing harder. He finally reaches these really cool set of trees that are mostly submerged in the water, like halfway submerged. And so he hauls himself up there and he hangs on to a branch, but is still kind of low, but enough where he's out of the water and thinks he's safe. And for a second, you think he might actually be safe. And then, bam, the shark launches right out of the water, grabs him, and drags him under.
And that was a really cheesy shark too,
Yeah.
as I recall.
Yeah. I wasn't happy about it because I do love the guy that played that role,
Yep.
but, they all got to die at some point. So back at the lake house, Malik and Nick finally make it onto shore where Sarah and Blake are waiting. Malik, bleeding out, of course, still has the energy to brag, "Told you I'd kill it." And sure enough, they've dragged a hammerhead shark up onto the beach. But Nick shakes his head and he's like, "The shark I saw wasn't a hammerhead." And Sarah's like, "Wait, what?" And he doubles down and says, "It wasn't a hammerhead. It swam right by me. It was something else. A hammerhead is very distinctive. You're gonna know if you see a hammerhead."
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So he has no idea how these sharks are even getting into the lake. Sarah throws out the theory that maybe hurricane season washed them in, just like the other guy said, Red. But while she's explaining, Nick notices something strange on the hammerhead. He walks over, pulls on it really hard, yanks it loose. It's a full on camera. And it's not like it's a GoPro or a tiny little pin camera. This shit needs to be bolted fucking on the shark, basically. The thing was huge. It was a full on fucking camera. I was like, "What? How are they
Like
doing that?"
like almost 80s, like, huge
Yes.
ass camera.
Yeah, it's like a camcorder you'd have to hold in your hand. I mean, it's and it had this big old thing on it. I'm like, "How did they fucking put this thing on this shark? Like, this is
Right.
ridiculous."
Yeah,
Oh, don't worry about it. No one's
yeah.
gonna notice. Pretty sure that I'm pretty sure that was the, theme in the writing room. Nobody's gonna notice.
Yes.
While they're all processing that insanity, Malik starts groaning and twitching, clearly not doing well. Blake decides, I'm taking him across the lake on the jet ski. And Sarah's like, wait, wait, wait. But no, 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 you can't do that. But Blake insists, look at him. We don't have time. Now, I don't know why this kid thought this jet ski, when that speedboat couldn't outrun a shark that obviously goes 5,000 miles per hour, how he was going to
Right.
outrun on a jet ski. So then we cut back to the boat. There's a lot of back and forth here. So then we cut back to the boat.
Yes.
Beth snaps at the two guys. Who are you freaks? Dennis doesn't answer. He just tells her to strip down to her bra and panties. She refuses until he pulls the gun again. And Red grabs her to force the issue. Now, earlier, while they were sitting on the boat, while Gordon was still alive, there was a knife near them. So she grabbed that and hid it in her pants, in her back, the back of her pants or whatever. So Red's got her and he's behind her and has his arm around her neck. She does decide to give in and take off her clothes, her shirt and her pants, but stuffed in the back of her underwear is where the knife is. So now Red's being all weird and gross and he's taunting her. So she whips out the knife and stabs him in the shoulder.
Rude.
Oh, yeah, how rude. And that makes Red furious. And here's where we find something even weirder. His because I said earlier he has razor sharp teeth, and you can really see them here. He has razor sharp teeth. He obviously had filed into almost like fangs, the front teeth, and maybe even the side ones, but the front teeth were obvious. Snarling at her like he's about to bite her neck. Dennis stops him, tells him to chill, and then decides to play a twisted little game instead. They make Beth take a shark quiz. Dennis asks her how many species of shark there are. She has no clue, but Red smugly throws out 350. Then Dennis launches into this whole monologue about how he's been diving with sharks for years. He's seen 45 or 46 species and starts rattling them off like he's Bubba from Forrest Gump. Yeah.
There's tiger sharks, great white sharks, whale sharks.
So then, meanwhile, back at the house, Blake's plan is honestly stupid. They're sitting on the wave runner. Blake is facing forward because he's driving, and then Malik is back to him. So they're back to back. And then they tie something around Malik and Blake. So they're tied together. So if Malik falls off, Blake's going with him. This is just seems like not a genius plan. But I guess it's because Malik has, I'm assuming it's
No.
because Malik doesn't have any strength to probably hold on, but he could have turned around and faced Blake and put one arm around him, maybe a leg or two, and held on that way. But this seemed really dumb. So then we go back to the boat. So back in the boat, they have this little netted square thing. It's like it's in the water, and there's a bunch of cookie cutter sharks in it, which are these little tiny sharks. They aren't very big. And anyway, they end up
Yeah.
throwing Beth into it. And Red has a camera on a long pole. So he's got it so that they can record underwater what's going on with Beth. He's got that videotaping them as they attack her. She is able to fight them for a little while. She's like pulling them off and here and there, but eventually they overtake her and she probably runs out of air as well. And she probably drowned before they actually killed her. So
Yep.
at this point, this is when I thought, okay, so the Sharks have an OnlyFans page. That must be what's going on here.
Everybody's doing it.
Everybody's got it going on. So they're just taking, they're being very, really nice humans. They're helping out the Sharks with their OnlyFans page
Yes.
and they're recording things for them.
Yeah.
And that's why all the Sharks have the big cameras on them and all that stuff. That's how
Right.
they did it. That's how they did it. Duh, I'm an idiot. The sharks were like, "Yeah, can you help us out? I'm just gonna turn over and you attach this camera to me. Oh, now we can be great friends. Okay. I'll give you 10%. You guys be my manager."
Oh,
Okay.
good.
We see Nick and Sarah walking quickly down the dock because the sheriff has shown up and he's like, "Hey, kiddos, how's it going?" And Sarah's like, "Has the medevac shown up? Are they coming to get Malik?" And she's asking all these questions. And he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what's going on? Slow down, honey bunny." And he says, "I don't know what you're talking about." And Nick said, "Nobody sent you?" And he's like, "I saw the bonfire and I thought, party." So, okay. So, and of course, when he looks over at the fire, when he says this, he sees the hammerhead shark and he's like, "What the hell is that?" So then we get a quick shot of Blake and Malik now as they're riding the jet ski through the water. Then we go back to the house, and the sheriff's walking back into the house from because he was outside on his walkie-talkie. Nick and Sarah are sitting there at the table. He's talking to somebody about making sure that the medevac's ready. Plus, everybody's out on the lake looking for them on the jet ski and all that stuff, and they're going to St. Francis and yada yada. So he's got people out looking for them on the jet ski. So Nick and Sarah have now stood up from the table and walk over there with the sheriff. And Nick suddenly passes out. And when he does this, he knocks over this thermos the sheriff had with him, and that thermos falls on the floor and spills. The sheriff and Sarah move Nick to the couch. Then the dog comes into the kitchen and starts looking up what's spilled out of the thermos, which looks like maybe chicken noodle soup or something. I know this doesn't seem
Right.
like it's important right now, but it's very important.
But it will be. It's foreshadowing.
It is. So we go back to the boys on the jet ski, and then you see them careening through the waters, and you see underwater shots and that are ominous and scary. And then Malik's looking out behind them, and that's the way he's facing, and he sees the shark coming up. And he starts untying himself from Blake because he's decided that he's not going to take Blake with him and that he's just going to go ahead and sacrifice himself so Blake doesn't die too. But of course, when Malik jumps off or falls off, whichever one he did, Blake notices. So he spins around to go back to save Malik. And of course, he can't be saved. And so then he turns back around and heads out because the shark's now coming for him. So then back at the house, they've got Nick laid out on the couch. Sheriff says he must just be exhausted from all the stress and tells Sarah to go grab a really cold towel. So she walks into the kitchen, which is just steps away and it's open. It's an open area. It's not like there's a big wall there. So she steps into the kitchen and she sees Sherman, the dog, just laying on the floor, not moving. And she's like, "Sherman?" Meanwhile, the sheriff is busy making himself a drink. And that's when Sarah notices the thermos on the floor that was spilled. She picks it up and is looking at it. And then right then, the walkie talkie, which is laying on the counter, goes off. And somebody says, "What's your 20, Sheriff? You missed a hell of a happy hour, made a blood smoothie out of that tattoo chick." And that's when we realize, and she realizes, the sheriff's in on it. Well, she may not realize that there's anything going
Oh,
on,
no.
but she knows, yeah, she kind of knows something's going on, but we really know what's going on, sort of. So then the voice adds, "Why don't you bring Blondie out here so we can have ourselves some fun?" And that's the moment when she realizes she's completely screwed. She walks over to the butcher block knife holder thingy, pulls out a big knife and, has it behind her back. So then she starts walking over towards the sheriff. Again, maybe 10 steps away from her and away from this walkie-talkie that he should have been able to hear, but didn't. I guess he was really into that drink. So the sheriff, I guess, realizes she's been gone a little too long, so he yells out for her. She says, "I'm coming." And as he goes back to sipping his drink, she gets up behind him. She's about to stab him with the knife, and then all of a sudden Dennis bursts in, grabs her, and ruins her whole plan.
I
Got his
hate it
hand
when
over.
that happens.
Yeah, it's the worst. So they're struggling. He has his hand over her mouth. She bites his hand and makes a run for it, but he shoots her with a dart. She staggers, tries to fight it off, and then she finally passes out. Then we cut back to Blake, who's still tearing up the lake on the jet ski. Looks like he might actually make it. And then, boom, out of nowhere, a ginormous, I'm assuming great white, launches straight out of the water and scoops him right off the jet ski. And that's bye bye, Blakey.
Hi, Blake.
Back at the house, we see Nick, and he is tied to a chair inside that shed thing, the boathouse. I guess the boathouse. And there's a big opening in the floor, and underneath it, you can see sharks swimming around. And that's when Nick realizes just how bad things are going to get. So then we go back to the boat. The dog's okay. It woke back up. It's on the boat now. But now Dennis has Sarah locked inside a big shark diving cage. He starts dragging her down memory lane, all pissy about it because she ran over his face years ago. Like, my God, get over it. She tells him she was drowning and that she was out of air, and he pushes back, "Were you really out of air?" If she says she was out of air, I guess she was out of air. So while they're going back and forth, the
Right.
dog yeah. So while they're going back and forth, the dog starts barking. Dennis complains about it, and Red's like, "He just needs a little attention." Then says, "Can we keep it?" And Dennis is like, "No." So then Red casually just picks up the dog and throws it out into the lake. And of course, this upsets Sarah. And Dennis grabs her through the bars of the cage and holds a knife up to her face right near where his scar is, like he's going to do the same thing to her face. Now we cut back to the sheriff and Nick. The sheriff explains about this whole Sharks Only fans page that they got going on. So basically, Shark Week pulls in over 20 million viewers, and some of those viewers want to see the real thing. So they're out here making what are basically shark snuff films.
Right.
He shows a video, and the girl, this is when we see the girl from the beginning again. It's the only time we see her. So the girl at the beginning of the movie, the one that got attacked with the camera when her boyfriend threw her top off and she had to go get it,
Yes.
she was their first upload, and I guess they must have made a bunch of reviews, made a bunch of money. I don't know. I'm assuming this is a dark web thing. So back on the boat, Dennis asks Sarah why she left him. She breaks down and says she was 18, she was scared and couldn't even face herself, much less him. And after, of course, she cut his face open, I guess. She says she came back to make it right because she really did love him. And then he softens, of course. She's like, "I really, really, truly did love you. I didn't do anything with anyone for the 3 years I've been away. You were the last guy I was ever with."
Aw.
And so he
How
softens.
romantic.
Yeah, it's such a sweet, sweet moment. And he grabs her hand through the bars and leans in close, and she leans in close. And that's when she grabs his gun and points it at him. And of course, instead of just pulling the trigger, she just takes her sweet ass time. She tells him to unlock the cage, but then never shoots him. These horror girls or horror people never make a quick decision except for that girl in Your Next. She was the only one that has that I've seen so far.
Right.
She
Yeah,
didn't waste any time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
She had
She
her
need
shit together.
she did. She just killed who needed to be killed, and that was that. She didn't need to have a speech or try to psychoanalyze them or any shit. But most of them, yeah, just like Sarah, they just drag it out. And because she drags it out, Dennis easily gets his big gun back. So now he's extra pissed because she fooled him again. He gets on the walkie-talkie and tells someone named Carl that it's almost dawn and to wake up the big girl. I don't even know who Carl is. He's never been mentioned before. So then, for like 5 seconds, we do see Carl. He lifts the cage door and lets out a shark, and that's literally it. He's just some weirdo looking guy, probably related to Red because they look had that kind of look. But they
Right.
gave him a name, so that was nice, which is surprising because he was only there for like 2 seconds. It was like a 2 second
Right.
roll. So back at the boat shed, the sheriff cuts Nick's leg with a knife so blood can drip into the water, which didn't make any sense because later when we see an underwater view, that whole section under where the hole is in the floor is all netted off with sharks just in it. They push sharks in there. So it's
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
why did they need to? That didn't make any sense. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Dramatics.
I guess. So he cuts his leg with a knife so the blood can drip in the water. And then when this happened, Nick reacts, kicks his leg out, and ends up knocking over a gas can. I guess that's why they did it. They needed the setup for the knocking over the gas can. So here's the setup. So the chair Nick's tied to is connected to this hydraulic pulley system. The sheriff starts raising him up over the big hole in the floor like he's about to be shark bait. Nick's pleading, saying, "You don't have to do this. You don't have to do this." The sheriff's like, "Oh, just think of it like a carnival dunk tank. Except this dunk tank comes with a twist." So he lowers Nick down. Yeah, dunks him into the water. I love that guy too. Donald Logue, I guess is how you say his name.
Yeah, Donald Logue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
love him
loved
too.
him in Grounded for Life.
What was it?
It was the show Grounded for Life.
Oh, Grounded for Life. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I know
It
what you're talking
was
about.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love him. Oh, so he dunks him in the water and Nick's down there looking around. And all of a sudden a shark turns and looks at him, but the shark is not moving. It just, once it turns, it stops moving. It just stares at him, which I thought was weird because I thought sharks had to constantly move all the time or they die. Not these ones, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something that is real
Yeah.
because the oxygen has to go through
Right.
their gills.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought. But this one apparently is just cool. He's just hanging out and making eye contact. That's all he wants to do. 'Cause-
Well, I mean, it is more romantic when you get
Yeah,
like
right. And you think he would have just charged at him as soon as he got in there, but whatever.
right.
So the sheriff yanks him back up. Psych. He's just teasing him. or maybe teasing the sharks. I don't know. I can't tell which. So then he turns on some music and
Right.
starts rambling about how you're 15 times more likely to die from a coconut falling on your head than from a shark attack. And then he throws in a couple more random stats that I don't really remember. But in the meantime, Nick's
Yeah.
working on his escape. So Nick happened to have a lighter and he was tied with zip ties, which are just plastic. So he takes the lighter and melts the ties to start freeing himself. The sheriff, meanwhile, is still on his little monologue and he tells Nick he's a big hair metal fan and asks Nick if he has a request for his dying music. And Nick says Guns N' Roses. And the sheriff laughs like, I know what you're trying to do, man. You're trying to make me love you. But he turns around and goes back to the stereo to put on some Guns N' Roses. That's when Nick tosses the lighter into the spilled gasoline and boom, up goes the sheriff on fire. So he's now running around like a maniac and, of course, falls straight into the water. Nick unties himself fully, slams, there's a big glass door that goes on top of this hole in the floor. So he shuts that down over the hole. And then, of course, the sharks attack and eat the sheriff. So bye bye, sheriff. Nick makes it out of the shed and heads toward the door. The sun's just starting to come up, and he spots the boat, which is not that far away, where Sarah is, still stuck with Dennis and Red. So without hesitation, he dives into the water and starts swimming toward them. Meanwhile, on the boat, Dennis is lowering Sarah into the water inside the shark cage. No, that sounds weird. Why did I write it like that? That makes it sound like I'm saying he's lowering Sarah into the water that's inside the shark cage. Like the shark cage has water in it
Has
somehow.
water
It's
in
not,
it already.
yeah, and the water is not escaping for some reason, even though it should be. But anyway, Dennis is lowering Sarah, who's in the shark cage, is now being lowered into the water by Dennis. There we go. Let's try
There
that
we
one.
go. There we go.
But he doesn't put her all the way in. He pauses, so that's just like her head sticking out, and she's still got some, she can still breathe. Then he sits at the edge of the boat and casually says, "We had some good times, Sarah. Real shame." Then he dumps a bucket of bloody chum all over her. Honestly, this is the worst foreplay ever. It's basically the shark version of a cum shot.
It's the facial.
Right? It is
um,
OnlyFans. Okay.
so this part I didn't really understand because she's in a shark tank or shark cage rather,
Right.
and he's throwing chum on her.
Yep.
How is the shark supposed to get her?
That's what I didn't understand. I was like, what the fuck? This is a shark cage on purpose. I mean, shark cages are used by divers so they can go in the water where the sharks are and not get attacked by sharks.
Right. I mean, it would make more sense if he cut the cable and let the shark cage fall to the bottom.
With it
because
open
then
on
she has
top
no
or
way
something.
she couldn't get
Oh,
out.
yeah. She wouldn't be able to breathe. She'd
Right.
eventually die. Yeah. But the sharks wouldn't be able to get her.
Right.
Although technically
Right.
later on does. And later on, when we get to that part, we'll talk about it because he must have done something to that cage. But at this point in the movie, I am like, just like you, what the fuck are you doing? This is a shark cage. What are you doing? Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it seemed really dumb. And it probably still is really dumb. So So just as Dennis is about to lower her the rest of the way down, Nick yells from behind. He's gotten up on the boat and he yells, "Bring her up." Dennis turns and there's Nick holding Red in a chokehold, gun pressed against his head. And at this point, I'm thinking, does Dennis even care about Red? Like, why would Dennis give a shit about Red? I doubt he does. Like, is this really
Yeah,
leverage?
because it didn't really seem like that he gave a shit about Red.
Yeah. If it was one or the other, either one would just let the other die. Like, I don't think that anybody would care. So, of course, Red's panicking. He's like, "Dennis, come on,
Right.
man. This isn't funny." Because Dennis is just looking at him. But Dennis doesn't exactly spring into action. So finally, Dennis goes, okay, and turns back towards Sarah. He smirks and says, "Looks like it's your lucky day." And he goes like he's going to pull her back up. But instead, there's a big knife right there, luckily, I guess. And he grabs that, whips around, and throws it straight into Red. So then that drops him dead on the spot. Nick lets go of him and Red's body tumbles into the water. Then Dennis lunges at Nick, grabbing him by the throat. And right in the middle of this showdown, he decides to basically quote Kenny Rogers. He says, "If you're going to play poker, son, you got to know what you're holding," is what he says. And my immediate thought was, well,
You
Nick's
gotta
holding a
know
gun.
when to hold them. Right.
But I was like, well, Nick's holding a gun, so he doesn't know what he's holding. And sure enough, Nick fires, shooting Dennis in the like near the ribs, lower ribs area. And Dennis stumbles back, clutching his side, and falls straight into the lake. So now Nick scrambles to raise Sarah back out of the water, you know, get the cage up because she's still just where she was.
Right.
But of course, Dennis isn't done. He swam around the cage, climbing. I wrote swum. Is swum even a word? Anyway,
He swummed there. He
I don't know why.
swummed for his life.
He swam around the cage, climbing up the back of it, hands on the latch that would drop it from the chain. And before Nick could react, Dennis yanks it loose, and both he and Sarah plunge underwater. Sarah, of course, being trapped inside the
Yes.
cage, and Dennis is on the outside. Nick grabs that electric shark prod exploding thingy, the giant bolt zapper gun, whatever it was, and dives in after them. Right? And he's trying to force the cage open. Sarah's inside panicking. And she does that whole sign that I can't breathe, I can't breathe. So what does Nick do? He
Right.
floats away. She's like, damn, what's this weird effect I have on
What's
Ben
good
underwater?
for the goose?
Yeah. No, Nick doesn't float away. So Nick then he does. He swims up to the surface. And it's funny because when he does swim up to the surface, she kind of has this look on her face like, shucks, I guess this is it for me. But anyway, he gulps in a big breath, then then swims back down and blows air into her mouth, which I guess he didn't breathe in the air. This is one thing about CPR that I never understand. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess there's a little bit of O2 in there, but when we breathe out carbon dioxide. So it's like,
Right. Yeah.
what are you giving them? It never makes sense to
Yeah,
me.
no. I mean, all you're doing is like with CPRs, you're just pushing air into their esophagus to loosen up whatever's there. You're not really giving them any kind of oxygen.
Yeah, you
You're
can't be.
just
And a whole
an
lot of
air
things.
pump.
Right. Yeah. Which of course now they've gotten rid of breaths. They just do compressions now. So anyway, this is not exactly a rescue
It
method.
depends on which one you use.
Yeah, that's right.
It depends on which method that you use because
Yeah.
one method, yeah, they did away with the breaths, and then there's another method you still use the breaths, and it's all confusing.
I thought you were being funny. Sorry. Because we know another way of
Oh,
doing CPR.
no. There's actually
Because there's an
Right.
OnlyFans version of CPR that we have talked about, not on the show, but
I beg your pardon.
yeah. Okay, where the heck am I? All right. So then Dennis comes from behind.
What a segue.
I know, right? Perfect. Okay. He grabs a hold of
Oh, shit.
He grabs a hold of Nick. They're in the struggle. Nick drops the big shark. He drops the big shark busting prod thing, and things are looking bad until Sarah steps up. Nick and Dennis are fighting up against the cage, and Nick is up. Nick is the one that's up against the cage. So Sarah steps in. She grabs Dennis by the hair and yanks his head back, and repeatedly slams the back of his head into the cage. At some point, she ties his leg to the bar, which I didn't see, and I don't know what she tied him with. I don't know if she had anything with her. But that traps him there.
Magic.
Yeah, but that traps him there attached to the cage, and he looks at her and she flips him off. And then you see, because the shark is coming towards Dennis and he can't get free. So guess what? It's not a very loyal. I mean, I guess they severed their ties with their manager because he just chomps Dennis alive right there on the cage. So
Right.
then Nick resurfaces.
Dennis was skimming.
Yeah, so Nick is now at the surface of the water, and guess who shows up? Sherman, the goodest of good boys. He's achieved the electronic exploding prod
Sherman.
like a champ. So good dog, good dog. So meanwhile, the shark isn't done. It starts hammering the flimsy cage, breaking through it like it's made of tin. So basically, if you look at this cage, there were parts in the middle section where because you've got that. Well, there's that part that's pretty open, but then underneath that, you have rods that go down, whatever. But they had like, I don't know if they had weakened them or done something, but they look like they took pool noodles and cut them down to size and put them around these bars. And I guess that maybe that's why, because the shark went right through it real easy. It didn't have any problem getting through
Yeah.
those bars. But it's just hammering at this flimsy cage and it breaks through it and no problem. And I mean, it's practically like, I don't know, paper mache or something. So the shark's just about to get Sarah when Nick stabs it with the prod and boom, shark guts go everywhere. Then we see Sarah and she's limp. She's out of air again. So Nick swims into the cage, pulls her out, drags her to the surface.
Always.
Always. Drags her to the surface. Sherman even grabs her hand, helping haul her back to the boat or to the dock. Nick gives her CPR. She coughs and she sputters back to life. Nick tells her it's over. She kisses him and whispers thank you. They both look out at the water, catching their breath. And then, because this was a 3D movie, by the way, I forgot to mention that. It-
Yes.
yeah.
I was a little annoyed by that too,
Yeah. And then,
because it didn't need to be 3D.
no, and it was funny because sometimes, like, it didn't look weird when you were watching it, except sometimes things when they were blowing up or going towards you, they were obviously, like, thrown at you in a weird way, and so that's, if you're
Yeah.
wearing the 3D glasses, that's how it would look like it's actually hitting you, I
You
guess.
know, and that could be why the underwater shots look so weird.
Oh, yeah, yeah, maybe that is why that was like that. I forgot about that. I didn't even think about that. So, but because this was a 3D movie and they just, had to end it with a gold jump scare, I guess, a giant shark lunges out of the water and straight at the screen, which is supposed to be terrifying, I guess, in the theaters, but really it's just the 3D gimmick thing. One last time.
Yeah,
So,
it was lame.
that's the end.
Yay.
Yay. So, your thoughts
Um,
on Shark Night?
I did not care for it. As we stated, I love Donald Logue,
Uh huh.
the sheriff,
Right.
and what was the other guy's name? Gordon?
Yeah, his name is
Is that Gordon? The one? Yeah.
Gordon was his character's name. He's one of those people with 3 names.
Right.
It's something David Mora or I can't think of it. He's got 3 names. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know his name either, but he's an actor that, if you see him, you know him.
Right.
And like I
Yeah.
said, like whenever he's in a movie, it's going to be somewhat cheesy, but I like him for that, because he
Right.
does put a lot into his roles. Even though the movie might not be
Yeah.
great, he does a good job with what he has. So,
Right.
because I think he's been in Hatchet, he was in
Mhm.
Grandma's Boy, a couple other
Yeah.
things.
Joel David
I don't
Moore.
know.
That's his name.
Okay. But I know that, when you watch a movie, you kind of you need to have a sense of reality. What am I trying to say? Suspend reality,
Right.
because it's a movie, and it's a story and it's supposed to be exciting, dramatic, whatever. This one asks too much of you to says reality.
Right.
That's me fucking up.
Right.
Um it asks you too much to suspend reality,
Mhm.
and it just took me right out of it. And
Right.
I don't know, I spent more time trying to look up inaccuracies than
Right.
actually like sitting down and watching the movie,
Uh-huh.
because there was so much going on that was wrong. It's
Right.
just like, no, and because like at one point they said that there was a tiger shark. Tiger sharks really can't live in lakes long term. They can
Right.
for a short term, but not long term. Bull sharks, yeah, they can. I mean, they can live in just about anything. They're like the snails of the ocean,
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good
even though snails are in the
analogy.
ocean. But
Right. It's a good analogy though.
right. But honestly, all in all, I would give it a 4 cents. I wouldn't go
Yeah.
much higher than that.
Right. So I actually watched this movie twice.
I'm
Sometimes,
sorry.
yeah, I watched it. Of course, my first run through was just to watch it. My second one is to do all my stuff. Of course, not a spectacular movie, but I can't say that I hated it because I do have some sort of weird affinity for cheesy ass shark movies. I don't know why.
Okay.
I just do. I think outside of Jaws, I expect every other shark movie I watch to be a cheesy ass shark movie. I have no great expectations of it being, amazing and fantabulous. And of course, it had 2 people in it that I love. I love Joel David Moore and I love Donald Logue. So they helped the movie a lot because both of them did. Even, I mean, and it wasn't like, even for a cheesy movie, like sometimes I'll watch some cheesy ass fucking shark movies and, the acting is just like what the fuck? Like, do these people even have they ever acted
Yeah.
before? And some of them have, because a lot, and I hate to say this because I don't have anything against this guy, but Casper Van Dien is in a lot of these cheesy ass water movies that there's something in the water, whether it's a shark or God, there was one I watched with him. I think his wife was in it too, and she was like a scientist. Was it some water wolf maybe? I don't know, like a wolf shark. And it was like or a wolf octopus maybe. I don't
Water
know.
wolf.
It was just dumb, and the acting usually is just absolutely fucking horrible, in all of them. But this one, I didn't find the acting to be too bad. Anybody, but those 2, of course, and like you said,
I
they
I would agree. I would agree. That is one thing I did forget to mention is that for what they had, I thought everybody did a good job with the roles that they had in the acting.
right.
It was the story that was really messed up.
Right, right. And it's funny because the guy that played Red, that guy was in, fuck.
I didn't see that one.
That's the name of the movie. It's Fuck with a long pause. That's exactly how you say it. Um,
Dot, dot, dot.
Blair Witch Project. I was like, "My God, what the fuck?" But he was Josh in the Blair Witch Project. And it's funny, anytime I see the only 2 I've ever seen from that movie
Oh,
that
okay.
have done other movies, yeah. So the only ones I've ever seen from that movie are him and the girl. I haven't seen that other guy do anything else.
And Heather?
But anytime I see them, I
Yeah.
automatically always think of, yeah, Heather. I automatically always think of Blair Witch, and I'm always like, "What are they doing here? I thought they died. Wasn't that real?" Every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't really hate the movie. This is one of those movies that, again, I did watch it twice, and I wasn't like, "Oh my God, I have to watch it twice." Because there have been some movies where I'm like, "Fuck, I have to watch this twice." But this one, I didn't hate it enough to where I was like, "Oh my God, I have to watch it twice." So I mean, it wasn't fantastic, but I would probably
Right.
give it a 5.5. I mean, if, it's one of those movies like,
Okay.
yes, and I know we say this all the time. If I were flipping through channels that I don't flip through anymore, and it was on, I'd probably keep watching it just for the heck of it, just because those 2 people are in it, mainly because I like them so much. So
Yeah.
they're the one that's probably why I'd keep
It's
watching it.
definitely a
But
background. It's definitely like a
yeah,
background movie.
right. I
Like
mean, you're
something that
still
you
on
don't
your
really
phone
need to
doing
pay
other shit.
attention to.
Right, yeah.
Right.
I'm over here playing Merge Mansion while I'm watching the show or whatever.
You know, watching Shark Overly fans.
Yeah. It reminds me to always put on my Shark Only fans. Oh, I haven't watched. Oh, only $20? Hell yeah. Subscribe. Okay. So,
Oh, fantastic.
only fantastic. Anything else?
We can put a sock on it.
All right, we can put a sock on it. All right, that's it for this week's episode of 2 Cents We See Scary Movies. If you liked hanging out with us, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with someone who swears they totally outswim a shark because I did swim team in high school. Dan, what terrifying pick do you have lined up for us next week?
The Black Demon. It's on Amazon Prime. It's about a possessed, what's the prehistoric shark? Megalodon?
Oh, yeah.
Attacking a oil rig.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen this one. I've seen a lot of shark movies, so I might have seen this one. So I'll be interested to see if I have. All right. Well, where can we watch it?
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. All right. Okay. Well, that's it until next week. Hope we see you there. Or, well, we won't see anybody. Anyway, and remember, be scared, be prepared, and don't get caught in the dark.